to be an individual, forged in the fires of your own experiences, yet shaped by the echoes of generations past. To be free, yet carry the weight of a history you did not live. This is the profound paradox of ancestral memory. How can we claim to be the sole architects of our lives when the very foundations of our being are built upon the triumphs and tragedies of those who came before? And how can their invisible influence be understood and integrated into our present? What if the longings you harbor, the fears that grip you, and the passions that ignite you were not solely your own, but whispers carried on the wind from ancestors long gone? What if the patterns you find yourself repeating in relationships, in health, in your pursuit of purpose, were echoes of unresolved stories seeking completion through you? And what if understanding these echoes could unlock a profound sense of belonging, a key to healing wounds you never knew you carried, and a compass guiding you toward your truest destiny? Your very DNA is an ancient library, each gene a word penned by generations, chronicling the saga of survival, resilience, love, and loss. While science meticulously deciphers the genetic code, ancestral memory hums beneath the surface, whispering the stories behind the script tales of famine and feast, war and peace, migration and settlement, all imprinted upon your very being. To understand both the science and the stories is to unlock a treasure trove of potential and purpose. For millennia, cultures across the globe have recognized and revered the profound influence of their ancestors, developing intricate rituals, traditions, and belief systems designed to connect with the past and honor those who came before. Imagine our ancestors in ancient Egypt, meticulously preserving the bodies of their departed loved ones, believing that their spirits continued to dwell among them, offering guidance and protection. This impulse to honor the dead, to seek wisdom from the past, and to ensure the continuity of lineage is a thread that runs through the tapestry of human history. From the elaborate ancestor shrines of ancient Rome to the veneration of family elders in traditional Chinese society, and to the sacred burial grounds of indigenous cultures, humanity has long sought to maintain a connection with those who shaped their world. It was Carl Jung, delving into the depths of the human psyche, who posited the existence of a collective unconscious, a vast, shared reservoir of ancestral experiences, archetypes, and instincts that underpins our individual consciousness. Jung's concept provides a framework for understanding the universality of certain symbols, myths, and patterns that appear across cultures and throughout history, suggesting a deep-seated connection to our shared human past. Throughout history, humans have yearned to understand their place in the grand tapestry of existence, to connect with their roots, and to find meaning in the face of mortality. This yearning has driven us to explore our family histories, to tell stories about our ancestors, and to seek guidance from those who came before us. Seeking one's origins and understanding one's past is a way of establishing one's purpose in the universe. However, in our modern, fast-paced world, many of us have become increasingly disconnected from our families, our traditions, and our ancestral homelands. Urbanization, globalization, and the relentless march of technological progress have often led to a fracturing of family ties and a severing of connections to our cultural heritage. This disconnection can leave us feeling lost, adrift, and without a sense of belonging, like a ship without an anchor in a turbulent sea. So, how can we bridge the chasm between our modern lives and the wisdom of our ancestors, reclaiming a sense of belonging, healing ancestral wounds, and discovering our true purpose? This video will delve into the psychology of ancestral memory, unveiling practical techniques for accessing its wisdom, integrating its patterns, and healing its wounds, a journey that may lead you to discover strengths and resilience you never knew you possessed, and rewrite the narrative of the history you never lived. We'll explore the scientific evidence for ancestral memory, delving into the fascinating field of epigenetics and the transgenerational transmission of trauma. Uncover the archetypal patterns that shape our lives, drawing on Jungian psychology and comparative mythology. and reveal practical techniques for healing ancestral wounds, from family constellation therapy to shamanic journeying. By exploring these concepts, you'll gain not just intellectual knowledge, but also practical tools to understand your family history, heal recurring patterns, cultivate a deeper sense of self-acceptance and belonging, and ultimately unlock your full potential. It's natural to feel skeptical about the idea of ancestral memory, to dismiss it as mere superstition or fanciful speculation. But by approaching this topic with an open mind and a willingness to explore the unseen forces that shape our lives, we can unlock a powerful source of wisdom and healing that has been within us all along. So, let's begin our exploration of ancestral memory and discover how the past lives within us, shaping our present and influencing our future. Ancestral memory, a term often whispered in hushed tones among psychologists and family historians alike, beckons us to consider a profound question. Are we truly the sole authors of our destinies? Or are we, in some inexplicable way, living out the unfinished stories of those who came before? Ancestral memory is not recalling a specific event from the past. It's inheriting a tendency towards certain behaviors, emotional responses, or even physical ailments due to the experiences of our ancestors. It is a psychological concept, not a literal one. It bridges the gap between psychology and biology, suggesting that the experiences of our ancestors can leave a lasting imprint on our genetic code, shaping our predispositions and influencing our lives in subtle yet significant ways. This concept finds resonance with Carl Jung's notion of the collective unconscious, that vast, shared reservoir of human experience containing archetypes and primordial images. However, it's important to draw a distinction. While the collective unconscious speaks to universal symbolic knowledge, ancestral memory suggests a heritable pattern, a direct line of influence passed down through generations, altering gene expression. Think of it as a legacy written not in ink, but in the very fabric of our DNA. While Jung posited a universal inheritance, ancestral memory suggests a familial inheritance of patterns. The mechanism through which this inheritance occurs is epigenetics. Imagine your DNA as a script and epigenetics as the highlighter that marks certain passages. These marks don't change the underlying script, but they change how it's read, influencing which genes are expressed and which are silenced. These epigenetic marks, acquired throughout our ancestors' lives in response to environmental factors, can be passed down through generations, influencing the health, behavior, and even the psychological makeup of their descendants. Genes provide the potential, but epigenetics determines which potentials are realized, like a director choosing which scenes to emphasize in a play. This is how famine can lead to generations of people hoarding resources, or why war can lead to generations of hypervigilance. It's crucial to address some common misconceptions. Ancestral memory is not about reincarnation, where we literally relive the lives of our ancestors. It's about inheriting the effects of past experiences, a subtle but profound distinction. Nor is it genetic determinism, which suggests that our genes dictate our fate. Ancestral memory is not a guarantee of a specific fate, but it loads the dice towards certain outcomes. We are not puppets of our ancestors, doomed to repeat their mistakes. We have agency, the power to become aware of these patterns and to consciously choose a different path, rewriting our inherited script. So, if ancestral memory isn't a literal memory, what is it, and how does it affect us in our daily lives? How does something that we never personally lived impact the lives that we live today? Ancestral memory can manifest in a myriad of ways, subtly coloring our emotional landscape, shaping our relationship patterns, and even influencing our physical health. Imagine someone with a deep-seated fear of scarcity, even though they have never experienced poverty. This fear might be an echo of their ancestors' experiences during a famine or economic hardship, a primal urge to hoard resources passed down through generations. Or consider someone who repeatedly finds themselves in toxic relationships, unconsciously reenacting patterns of abuse or abandonment experienced by their forebears. Perhaps an ancestor was abandoned as a child, leading to the unconsciously reenacted pattern. These manifestations are often subtle, operating beneath the surface of our conscious awareness, influencing our choices and behaviors without our explicit knowledge. Trauma experienced by our ancestors can be particularly potent in shaping ancestral memory, leaving deep scars on the psyche of subsequent generations. When our ancestors experience extreme stress, they don't just suffer emotionally. Their bodies undergo epigenetic changes that can make their descendants more vulnerable to anxiety, depression, or other mental health issues. This is the realm of intergenerational trauma, the transmission of trauma across multiple generations within a family. It differs from historical trauma, which refers to the collective trauma experienced by a particular group or community due to historical events such as slavery or genocide. Both intergenerational and historical trauma can have profound and lasting effects on individuals and communities, shaping their identities, relationships, and overall well-being. It is important not to focus solely on trauma. Ancestral memory can also transmit positive traits, such as resilience, creativity, and cultural traditions. Consider a family with a long line of artists, each generation inheriting a passion for creative expression and a unique artistic talent. Or a community that has faced immense hardship yet maintains a strong sense of cultural identity and resilience, passing down traditions, values, and beliefs that have sustained them through generations. These are gifts passed down through generations, legacies of strength, ingenuity, and cultural richness. Culture plays a vital role in preserving and transmitting these positive aspects of ancestral memory, providing a framework for understanding our heritage, celebrating our strengths, and connecting with our roots. But how can we be sure that these patterns are truly inherited from our ancestors, and not just the result of our upbringing or environment? What concrete evidence supports the existence of ancestral memory and its impact on our lives? Evidence from animal studies provides compelling insights into the transgenerational transmission of trauma and other traits. Studies on mice have shown that stress experienced by fathers can affect the behavior and stress response of their offspring, even if the offspring never directly experience the stress themselves. This is due to epigenetic changes in the father's sperm, which alter gene expression in the offspring. For example, mice exposed to a specific odor paired with an electric shock passed on a heightened fear response to that odor to their offspring and even their grand offspring, demonstrating the inheritance of learned fear through epigenetic mechanisms. While these studies offer valuable clues, it's important to acknowledge the limitations of extrapolating from animal models to the complexities of human experience. Human studies on the intergenerational effects of trauma offer further support for the concept of ancestral memory. Research on the children and grandchildren of Holocaust survivors has found higher rates of anxiety, depression, and PTSD, suggesting that the trauma experienced by their ancestors has left a lasting mark on their psychological well-being. Similarly, studies on the descendants of enslaved people have revealed higher rates of chronic health conditions, such as hypertension and diabetes, potentially linked to the chronic stress and adversity experienced by their ancestors. While these studies provide valuable insights, it's crucial to acknowledge the challenges of conducting such research, controlling for confounding variables such as socioeconomic status, environmental factors, and individual experiences. Historical examples of cultural practices and beliefs also lend credence to the concept of ancestral memory. In many cultures, ancestors are seen as sources of wisdom, guidance, and protection. Rituals are performed to honor them, seek their blessings, and ensure the well-being of the family and community. Consider the Day of the Dead in Mexico, a vibrant celebration where families honor their deceased loved ones with offerings, music, and festivities, believing that their spirits return to visit them. or the ancestor veneration practices in many African cultures, where ancestors are seen as intermediaries between the living and the divine, offering guidance and protection to their descendants. These practices highlight the enduring belief in the power of the past to influence the present. Carl Jung, a pioneer in the field of depth psychology, believed that the collective unconscious contains archetypes, universal patterns of behavior and imagery that are inherited from our ancestors. These archetypes can influence our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, often without our conscious awareness. Jung writes, "The collective unconscious is a part of the psyche which can be negatively distinguished from a personal unconscious by the fact that it owes its existence exclusively to heredity. Whereas the personal unconscious consists essentially of contents which have at one time been conscious, but which have disappeared from consciousness through having been forgotten or repressed. The contents of the collective unconscious have never been in consciousness, and therefore have never been individually acquired, but owe their existence exclusively to heredity. These archetypes, such as the anima, animus, shadow, and self, represent fundamental aspects of the human experience, shaping our perceptions, motivations, and relationships. So, the evidence suggests that ancestral memory is a real phenomenon, with both positive and negative consequences. But what can we do to heal from ancestral trauma and harness the power of our ancestral heritage? If we bear negative epigenetic markings from previous generations, is there anything we can do to remove the ink? We've seen that ancestral memory is not a literal memory, but an inherited pattern of predispositions shaped by the experiences of our ancestors. These patterns can manifest in our emotions, relationships, health, and talents, and they are transmitted through epigenetic mechanisms. It's important to remember that ancestral memory is just one factor among many that shape our lives. Our individual experiences, choices, and relationships also play a crucial role in determining who we become. But even if we don't fully understand the mechanisms behind ancestral memory, we can still learn to work with its influence in our lives. Are you ready to embark on a journey of self-discovery and connect with the wisdom of your ancestors? In the next part of the video, we'll explore some practical techniques for healing ancestral trauma, integrating ancestral patterns, and connecting with our ancestral heritage. Learning about ancestral trauma can be daunting. It's natural to feel overwhelmed by the prospect of carrying the pain of generations past, feeling as if you're somehow personally responsible for the weight of history. But within this inherited legacy lies an extraordinary opportunity, the chance to heal not only ourselves, but also our lineage, paving the way for a brighter future, transforming victimhood into agency. It's easy to feel helpless when contemplating the suffering of those who came before. But what if that suffering held the key to unlocking profound healing and transformation, not just for you, but for your entire family tree? There are many paths one can take towards this healing and integration of generational burdens. There is no single right way, and what works for one person may not work for another. But broadly, there are psychological, spiritual, and somatic approaches, and they are not mutually exclusive. Psychological approaches, such as therapy, inner child work, and shadow work, focus on understanding and processing the emotional wounds of the past. Spiritual practices, such as rituals, ancestor veneration, and shamanic journeying, offer a way to connect with the collective wisdom of our ancestors and seek their guidance. Somatic approaches, such as bodywork and energy healing, address the physical manifestations of trauma and help to release stored emotional energy. So, where do we begin? Let's look at some concrete ways to start working with ancestral memory, beginning with the world of therapeutic applications. One such application is family constellation therapy, a therapeutic approach that seeks to reveal and resolve hidden dynamics within family systems. In a family constellation session, participants represent family members and are guided to sense the underlying dynamics and traumas that may be influencing their lives. It is often startling just how well a stranger can pick up on the energy of one's family. This process can uncover hidden loyalties, unresolved grief, and patterns of behavior that have been passed down through generations. For example, a participant might discover that they are unconsciously carrying the burden of a deceased relative, or that they are repeating a pattern of self-sabotage that originated with an ancestor who experienced a similar setback. By bringing these hidden dynamics to light, family constellation therapy can help to break free from destructive patterns and create more fulfilling relationships. It's like shining a light into a dark room, revealing the hidden connections and patterns that have been shaping our lives without our conscious awareness. Ancestral memory also deeply intertwines with the concept of the inner child, emphasizing that unresolved childhood traumas can be passed down through generations, shaping our present-day experiences. Inherited relational patterns or trauma responses can unconsciously shape one's inner child, leading to feelings of abandonment, neglect, or abuse, even if we ourselves did not experience those things directly in our childhood. Working with one's inner child can help to heal these ancestral wounds by providing a safe space to express repressed emotions, reparent the wounded child, and create new, healthier patterns of relating. This work can be a powerful way to break free from the cycle of intergenerational trauma and create a more secure and loving inner world. In a sense, you are not just reparenting yourself, but also reparenting your ancestors, offering them the love and support they may have lacked in their own lives. Consider how ancestral memory can influence our shadow, the unconscious aspects of our personality that we tend to reject or disown. If our ancestors were persecuted for certain qualities, such as creativity, assertiveness, or intellectual curiosity, we may unconsciously suppress those qualities in ourselves, fearing that we will suffer the same fate. For example, if your ancestors were burned as witches for their knowledge of herbal medicine, you might find yourself unconsciously avoiding any pursuit of natural healing, fearing that you will be judged and punished for your interests. Integrating these shadow aspects can lead to greater wholeness and self-acceptance, allowing us to reclaim our full potential and live more authentically. Like Jung said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. While psychological approaches focus on individual healing, spiritual practices offer a way to connect with the collective wisdom of our ancestors, tapping into a deeper sense of belonging and meaning. In many cultures, ancestor veneration practices emphasize the importance of honoring and connecting with our lineage. This can take many forms, from building altars and offering prayers to telling stories and celebrating ancestral holidays. It's not about worshipping the dead, but about acknowledging their influence and seeking their guidance, recognizing that they are a part of us and that their experiences have shaped who we are today. Think of building an altar as creating a sacred space where you can connect with your ancestors, a place where you can honor their memory, express your gratitude, and ask for their support. Consider the potential of shamanic journeying to connect with ancestral spirits and access their wisdom. By entering an altered state of consciousness, we can travel to the spirit world and communicate with our ancestors, receiving guidance, healing, and empowerment. It's like stepping through a portal into the realm of the ancestors, where we can access their knowledge, their healing energy, and their unconditional love. This can be a powerful way to resolve ancestral conflicts, heal old wounds, and gain a deeper understanding of our place in the family lineage. Rituals and ceremonies also play a role in honoring ancestors and healing ancestral trauma. Creating a family tree, visiting ancestral homelands, or participating in cultural ceremonies can all be powerful ways to connect with our roots and honor those who came before us. The key is to approach these practices with intention, creating a safe space for emotional release and allowing ourselves to be guided by the wisdom of our ancestors. For instance, you might create a ritual to honor an ancestor who experienced a traumatic event, such as war or displacement, expressing your compassion for their suffering and offering your support for their healing. These ceremonies act as bridges across time, connecting us to the experiences of our ancestors and allowing us to heal together. These approaches, while valuable, require a willingness to explore the unknown, to confront uncomfortable truths, and to trust in the wisdom of our ancestors. But what happens when that trust is shaken? What happens when we uncover aspects of our ancestral history that are disturbing or painful? There are potential pitfalls of working with ancestral memory, such as idealizing ancestors, getting lost in the past, or becoming overwhelmed by trauma. It's important to maintain a balanced perspective and seek guidance from qualified professionals, knowing when it's important to stop, such as if you become destabilized or dissociative. It's also crucial to avoid romanticizing the past, recognizing that our ancestors were complex human beings with both strengths and weaknesses. Getting lost in the past can lead to a sense of disconnection from the present, making it difficult to live fully in the here and now. Ultimately, working with ancestral memory is not about dwelling in the past, but about integrating its lessons into our present lives. It's about understanding how the past has shaped us, and then making conscious choices to create a better future for ourselves and our descendants. This may involve taking action in the present, such as breaking free from destructive patterns, pursuing our passions, or advocating for social justice. It can also involve consciously rewriting family stories, choosing to focus on the strengths and resilience of our ancestors, rather than dwelling on their traumas. Ultimately, the most effective approach involves combining different methods, finding what resonates with you and your individual needs, seeking guidance from therapists, spiritual teachers, and other qualified professionals. By integrating these techniques into our lives, we can heal ancestral wounds, connect with our heritage, and unlock our full potential. But remember, this journey is a marathon, not a sprint, requiring patience, compassion, and a willingness to embrace the unknown. So, we've explored different approaches to working with ancestral memory, from psychological therapies to spiritual practices. But how can we make this journey manageable and ensure it benefits not just us, but future generations? What are the ethical considerations involved in working with ancestral memory, and how can we avoid perpetuating harm or cultural appropriation? These are complex questions, and the answers may surprise you. The idea of family constellation therapy or shamanic journeying might feel overwhelming. After all, the path into the depths of one's ancestral past can be a daunting prospect, filled with unknown shadows and unexpected revelations. It's perfectly okay to start with smaller, more manageable steps to ease into the process with patience and self-compassion. Think of it as learning to swim. You wouldn't dive into the deep end without first getting your feet wet, understanding the currents, and familiarizing yourself with the environment. One such manageable step is creating a genogram, essentially a family tree that goes beyond names and dates. A genogram includes information about relationships, emotional patterns, significant life events, and recurring health issues. This visual representation can help to identify patterns of behavior, relationship dynamics, and health issues that have been passed down through generations, acting as a roadmap to understanding the complex terrain of your family history. It is not just for mental health professionals. Anyone can create a genogram by simply gathering information from family members and documenting it in a structured way. Think of it as becoming a family historian, piecing together the fragments of the past to create a more complete picture of your lineage. But how do you gather this information in a way that is both informative and respectful? Listening to family stories with an open mind and a compassionate heart is crucial. Rather than dismissing family stories as just the way things are, try listening for the underlying emotions, the unspoken traumas, and the hidden loyalties. What is not being said is often more important than what is. Ask open-ended questions that encourage family members to share their experiences in their own words. Pay attention to nonverbal cues, such as body language and tone of voice, which can reveal hidden emotions. And above all, Avoid judgment, creating a safe space for family members to share their stories without fear of criticism or rejection. It's like becoming a detective, carefully gathering clues to solve the mystery of your family's past. As you begin to uncover your family history, it's crucial to approach this process with self-compassion and a healthy dose of realism. But just how do we create the emotional space necessary for this kind of deep dive? Creating a safe emotional space for exploring family history is paramount. This could involve setting boundaries with family members, seeking support from a therapist or trusted friend, or engaging in self-care practices. It's like building a protective shield around yourself, guarding against the emotional fallout that can arise when confronting difficult truths. Remember, it's okay to take breaks or slow down if the process becomes overwhelming. Self-care is not selfish. It's essential for maintaining your well-being and ensuring that you can continue the journey with resilience and clarity. The genogram and family stories can help to identify recurring patterns of behavior, relationship dynamics, and health issues, as previously stated. Do you notice a pattern of early deaths in the family, a tendency towards addiction or depression, a recurring theme of financial instability? These patterns can provide clues to ancestral traumas and unresolved issues, acting as signposts that point towards areas needing healing and integration. Perhaps there's a hidden legacy of resilience, creativity, or compassion that has been overshadowed by trauma. Unearthing these positive aspects of your ancestry can be just as healing as addressing the negative ones. Families often develop myths or narratives that serve to protect them from painful truths. The strong family that never asks for help, the successful family that denies any struggles, or the happy family that ignores underlying tensions. Challenging these myths can be a powerful step towards healing, allowing you to rewrite your family's story with greater authenticity and compassion. But here's what most people miss. These myths, though often harmful, served a purpose at one time. They were coping mechanisms, survival strategies developed in response to trauma or hardship. Understanding the origins of these myths can help you to approach them with greater empathy and avoid blaming your ancestors for their limitations. It's important to remember that our ancestors were complex individuals, capable of both great love and great harm. How do we integrate both? Our ancestors may have endured hardship and made mistakes, but they also possessed resilience, creativity, and love. It's important to honor both sides of their legacy, acknowledging their imperfections while also recognizing their strengths. What happens if we fall into the trap of idealizing our ancestors, portraying them as flawless heroes? We risk creating a distorted view of the past, one that denies the reality of their struggles and limitations. Similarly, what happens if we demonize our ancestors, focusing only on their flaws and shortcomings? We risk perpetuating a cycle of judgment and blame, preventing us from truly understanding their experiences and integrating their lessons. The key lies in finding a balanced perspective, one that acknowledges the full spectrum of human experience. Forgiveness doesn't mean condoning harmful behavior. It means releasing the resentment and anger that binds us to the past. Holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. It only harms you, keeping you trapped in a cycle of pain and resentment. Von France writes, "To accept your shadow is a heroic deed." Forgiveness is a process, not an event, and it may take time to fully release the pain of the past. Be patient with yourself, allowing yourself to grieve the losses and injustices that your ancestors experienced. And remember, forgiveness is not just for the benefit of those who harmed you. It's for your own healing and liberation. But here's a shocking truth. Sometimes, the person we need to forgive the most is ourselves. One of the most powerful ways to honor our ancestors is to break the cycle of trauma and create a better future for our descendants. This could involve seeking therapy to address personal issues, ending unhealthy relationship patterns, or advocating for social justice. Breaking the cycle is about choosing a different path, one that is aligned with your values and your vision for a better world. By healing our own wounds, we can prevent them from being passed down to our children and grandchildren, creating a legacy of healing, love, and empowerment. Conscious parenting, for instance, involves being aware of our own emotional triggers and patterns of behavior, and making conscious choices to respond to our children in a way that is loving, supportive, and respectful. Creating a family ritual, such as a weekly gratitude practice or a yearly celebration of ancestral heritage, can also help to strengthen family bonds and create a sense of belonging for future generations. So, by mapping our family history, listening to family stories, and embracing both the light and the shadow of our ancestors, we can begin to heal not only ourselves, but our lineage. How does all of this impact our future and the lives of those who come after us? What does this all mean for our personal power? And how can we use this understanding to rewrite our destiny, not just revisit our history? Are we merely passive recipients of our ancestral inheritance, or can we actively shape the legacy we leave behind? This question takes us toward legacy and how our understanding of the past can impact the future. Ancestral memory can be reframed as a source of strength and resilience rather than just a burden of trauma. Our ancestors survived wars, famines, and other hardships. Their strength and resilience are encoded in our DNA. By connecting with our ancestral heritage, we can tap into this wellspring of inner resources, drawing upon their courage and determination to overcome our own challenges. It's like having a team of invisible allies supporting us every step of the way. But this raises an important question. How do we access this wellspring of inner resources? The answer lies in consciously cultivating a connection with our ancestors through practices such as meditation, visualization, and ancestral healing rituals. We can choose to rewrite our family story, replacing narratives of victimhood with narratives of resilience, healing, and transformation. The power of narrative is immense. Stories shape our identities, influence our beliefs, and guide our actions. By consciously choosing to focus on the strengths and resilience of our ancestors, we can create a more empowering narrative for our family, one that inspires hope, fosters connection, and promotes healing. This new narrative can then be passed on to future generations, shaping their sense of identity and their understanding of their place in the world. Furthermore, passing on positive values and traditions to future generations is a powerful way to honor our ancestors and create a lasting legacy of love and empowerment. Working with ancestral memory can have a ripple effect, positively impacting future generations. By healing our own wounds, we can prevent them from being passed down to our children and grandchildren, creating a legacy of healing, love, and empowerment. This is not just about personal transformation. It's about collective healing, about creating a world where future generations are free from the burdens of the past. Conscious parenting, as mentioned earlier, is one way to do this. Another way is to advocate for social justice, working to create a more equitable and compassionate world for all. This could involve supporting organizations that are working to address issues such as poverty, inequality, and environmental degradation. It could also involve speaking out against injustice and discrimination, using your voice to create positive change in the world. We've seen that creating genograms, actively listening, and embracing complexity are essential first steps. Now, what does this all mean for our personal power, and how can we use this understanding to rewrite our destiny, not just revisit our history? How does this knowledge affect our descendants and the mark we leave on the tapestry of time? What if tapping into ancestral memory held the key to unlocking hidden potentials, talents, and skills, allowing us to become the best version of ourselves and truly rewriting our destinies? These questions are only the beginning of where this journey can take us. Having mapped our family history, listened to the stories, and embraced both the light and shadow of our ancestors, it's time to consciously engage with those narratives and become active authors in our family's ongoing story. Can we, in a way, rewrite the script? This isn't about inventing falsehoods or denying the past. but about intentionally shifting our perspective and reclaiming our power to interpret and shape our legacy. Imagine a family story of financial hardship passed down through generations. Rewriting this narrative isn't about denying the past struggles, but about reframing it as a testament to resilience, resourcefulness, and the enduring human spirit. Highlighting this reframing invites new potentials to emerge. This involves reinterpreting events, challenging limiting beliefs, and emphasizing the potential for healing and growth. It's crucial to distinguish healthy reframing from harmful denial of reality. Rewriting a narrative of abuse doesn't mean excusing the abuser or minimizing the pain. It means acknowledging the trauma, honoring the survivor's experience, and choosing to break the cycle of abuse. Healthy reframing acknowledges reality while shifting the focus to strength, healing, and empowerment. What transformations become possible when we actively reclaim and rewrite our ancestral stories? Inherited narratives often contain limiting beliefs that hold us back from realizing our full potential. A family narrative that we're not good at academics or we're not deserving of success can become a self-fulfilling prophecy, limiting our aspirations and undermining our efforts. Identifying and challenging these beliefs is a crucial step in rewriting our ancestral narratives. But here is what most people miss. These self-fulfilling prophecies and limiting beliefs aren't always explicitly stated, yet are quietly transferred through behavior and expectations. Even amidst hardship, our ancestors found ways to persevere, to create, to love, and to build community. By recognizing and celebrating these strengths, we can tap into a wellspring of inner resources. Even those ancestors who caused harm may have had positive qualities that enabled their survival. For instance, a ruthless businessman might have also been a devoted father, or a stern matriarch might have also been a fierce protector of her family. Recognizing these complexities allows for a more nuanced and compassionate understanding of our lineage, and also provides access to the unexpected wellsprings of strength that may have been buried underneath layers of negative associations. How can we tap into these strengths? Rewriting ancestral narratives can also involve consciously shifting the emotional tone of the stories we tell ourselves. Instead of focusing on the anger, resentment, or shame associated with a family conflict, we can choose to focus on the lessons learned, the opportunities for growth, and the possibility of reconciliation. This doesn't negate the painful emotions, but creates space for new perspectives and healing to emerge. Imagine, for instance, a long-standing family feud. Instead of dwelling on the bitterness and betrayal, one might choose to focus on the potential for forgiveness and reconciliation, recognizing that holding on to anger only perpetuates the cycle of pain. How might we translate this shift in focus into tangible change? Consider a person whose family has a long history of alcoholism, a pattern of addiction that seems almost predetermined. This person might reframe their understanding of this pattern by seeing it as a sign of deep-seated pain and a lack of healthy coping mechanisms passed down through generations, something not explicitly taught, but quietly modeled. This reframing, though it takes tremendous effort and professional guidance, can lead them to seek help, develop healthier habits, and break the cycle of addiction, not just for themselves, but for future generations. But what if addiction isn't the presenting problem? What if the addiction is a coping mechanism for a deeper trauma? The civil rights movement in the United States involved rewriting the narrative of Black Americans from one of oppression and inferiority to one of resilience, strength, and the pursuit of equality. This historical example demonstrates the importance of collective action and social change in rewriting ancestral narratives on a larger scale, because it wasn't just individuals rewriting their stories, it was the entire community. This is an example of a conscious and deliberate effort to challenge the dominant narrative and reclaim agency. To relate this to our own lives, we have to wonder what other such narratives are running in the background. What might be the benefit of challenging them? Narrative therapists emphasize the power of storytelling in shaping our identities and our lives. Narrative therapists believe that we are not our problems. Our problems are problems. By separating ourselves from our problems, we can begin to rewrite our stories and create new possibilities for our lives. But here's a shocking truth. We often internalize our problems as part of our identity, particularly when these problems are part of a larger ancestral story. This relates directly to ancestral memory and the narratives passed down through generations. This also demonstrates the power of not only narrative, but of separation. Having explored various methods and cases of rewriting our personal narrative through the lens of ancestral connection, how do we integrate this practice into our everyday experience? We've seen that rewriting ancestral narratives is about more than just changing the stories we tell. It's about transforming our relationship to the past, reclaiming our power in the present, and creating a better future for ourselves and our descendants. As we continue to learn and grow, our understanding of our family history will evolve, and we may need to revisit and revise our narratives as needed. Remember, it is about continuous learning and growth. How can we make this practice a regular part of our lives? What are some tangible ways to remember and apply this long after this video is over? Are you ready to create a new narrative for your family and embark on a journey of intergenerational healing and empowerment? But we're just scratching the surface. What we'll discover next is even more shocking, as we dig into the practical tools for integrating this practice into our daily lives, long after this video is over. In conclusion, we've journeyed through the intricate landscape of ancestral memory, a realm where the echoes of the past resonate within our present lives, often in ways we scarcely recognize. The topic is as vast as human history itself, as varied as our own family trees. It is complex and mysterious, and yet has real implications for the patterns we discover in our lives today. We've seen how ancestral memory, expressed through epigenetics and cultural transmission, shapes our tendencies, fears, and strengths, connecting us to generations past. We have explored how the transgenerational transmission of experience impacts individual and collective consciousness, influencing everything from our relationship patterns to our deepest held beliefs. This investigation has brought us face to face with the archetypal resonance of family dynamics, revealing the potential for lineage repair and a more profound understanding of ourselves. How can we possibly make sense of these deep connections and sometimes troubling inherited traits? That ancient scroll of DNA, which we introduced at the start, now appears not just as a record of the past, but as a dynamic document that we can actively co-author. What began as an exploration of inherited trauma has become an invitation to reclaim our narratives and shape our destinies. What once was hidden is becoming illuminated. What began as fate is becoming destiny. Initially, ancestral memory might have seemed like a distant, abstract concept. Now, we recognize its tangible impact on our daily lives and its potential as a source of healing and empowerment. We've come to realize that the stories of our ancestors are not just dusty relics of the past, but living forces that continue to shape our present. What we have been given is a chance to make peace with the past and shape our future. We break free from the chains of the past not by denying them, but by consciously embracing them and rewriting the narrative. Understanding the trials, tribulations, and triumphs of those who came before us makes us more compassionate and understanding toward ourselves. To face the reality of our past is the best path to freedom. Our scars make us stars. This journey, though focused on our individual family histories, reflects the universal human quest for meaning, belonging, and healing. It is a reminder that we are all interconnected, not only to each other, but to the generations that came before us and the generations that will follow. This quest requires courage, vulnerability, and a willingness to challenge long-held beliefs and assumptions. The exploration of your ancestral story is an ongoing journey, offering new layers of understanding and healing as you continue to engage with it. There is always more to discover, more to learn, and more to heal. This is why we must not ignore the subtle promptings from within. By embracing this practice, we can create a legacy of healing, resilience, and empowerment for generations to come. When we heal ourselves, we heal our families, our communities, and the world. Engaging with our ancestral memory offers a path toward a more just and compassionate future. To delve deeper, journal 3 times a week for 1 month around the themes presented in this content. Record your dreams, pay attention to your body, listen to the subtle cues, and honor your intuition. Your ancestors are waiting to guide you. Thank you for watching.